Okay, so tonight we're doing a call about never giving up, which I scheduled a month ago before I moved to Iowa and was in one of the craziest months ever. So I don't do any of my calls, obviously, from a soapbox, but especially this one. This is about running the race that's set before us and not giving up. So the first thing we're going to go over is everything on the call. So we're going to talk about what it means to be unstoppable. What are your assets? What's the one thing you have that no one else has is you. Your voice, your mind, your story, your vision. So live as only you can. I really want you guys to take that in, that this is a business of a lot of comparison, a lot of times, from your results to your business and what other people are doing, to how other people post, to everything. I want you guys to realize that there is only one you. Okay? And then also we're going to talk about what are your deficits. Sometimes the things we've gone through in our life we look at as negatives and we see the hard things that we struggle with. I want you guys to realize that hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. Okay? It really is in how we think about it. So then I want to go into what our focus is. I want all of us, like if I could dream up our team, I would want us to have this kind of focus. Throw me to the wolves and I'll come back leading the pack. That there is literally nothing that is going to stop me. And no matter how many things I have to overcome and no matter how many hard things I go to, I'm coming out leading the pack. Okay? And then we're going to talk about our allies, the things that we have surrounding us that can help us to have that never give up mindset, to continue no matter what the road looks like. So the first one is our assets. If you focus on what you have, you live in a place of blessing and thankfulness. So I want you guys to ask yourself, and so maybe if you're taking notes, these are the things I really want you to know, and if not, take notes later. What are your strengths, your gifts, and your talents? If you don't know, ask somebody who does know. Enlist the help of the people around you. Know what your gifts and strengths and talents are, and really solidify that in your mind of why it's a good thing to be that way. Because for me, for a long time, I didn't feel like I had any talent because I wasn't good at anything. But I'm really good at loving people. That's perfect for this business. Am I going to do that well all the time? No, but that's a gift. And I really need to remember that gift. And so anyway, then asking yourself, how is or how are my relationships, my mental focus, my life satisfaction? Look at the good things that are happening and focus on that. Not the weak areas, okay? We're going to get into that. But when we're talking about our assets, guys, find the relationships that are good. Find the things you love. Find the things you do well. Find where your mind is the most clear, whether that comes in like, I just organized and cleaned my whole house, or I just went grocery shopping and I got everything on my list, or I just, whatever. Life satisfaction, things that make you happy, things that are working well for you. What are your assets? Know them. Live in a place of blessing and thankfulness for the things that we have. Okay? The next is our deficits. If we focus on our weaknesses and our struggles, we will live a life of defeat and hopelessness. So I want you to realistically ask yourself, sometimes the things we've gone through, we look at and we think, oh my gosh, if people knew that about us, or that's so awful, or whatever, like we feel inadequate based upon the bad things that have happened to us versus the things that have happened to us actually being something that can help and inspire other people. So I want you to ask yourself, do I focus on my inadequacies? I look at my life through a lens of inadequacy, my weakness, other people's possible poor opinions of me, my frustrations, annoyances, irritations, my lack of progress, my negative thoughts about myself. I'll never get there. I don't have what she has. If other people knew this about me. If your deficits, guys, I want you to think about this like a bank account, right? If every dime you put in a piggy bank, you watch 20 quarters pop out of it, you're not going to feel so confident putting in all of the dimes. The dimes are adding up, even if quarters are coming out, right? Like there is the deficits. When they happen, they're real. Like we do have things we're not good at. We do have weaknesses. We do have, people who might think poorly of us. That is not a reason that we don't have something that is an asset, things that we are doing that are good, that are worth it, that make us valuable in people's lives. Okay? What you are doing, whether it's what the value is, you can't decide that. You can't say, I'm only a dime and this is a quarter going out, right? Like, it's not like watching coins go into a piggy bank or something. You are putting the value on that. And if you're looking at your weaknesses as having a higher value than your assets, then you've set yourself up to be in a position where what's going out feels like you just don't have enough going in. You don't have enough that's making you worth it. And that is going to put you in a position to want to give up and to want to quit. So I want us to really recognize our assets and focus on them, and give them the value that they're worth, right? Okay, so the next thing is getting focused. How are we going to come out leading the pack? Really, like, throw me to the wolves, I'm going to lead the pack. That's a hard thing to ask, but oh my gosh, how good would it feel if we could say, I am going to be hindered by nothing. The way that happens is you have a burning desire in your life that's backed by faith, okay? So whatever your why is, your dream, your goal for being in this business, you have that desire burning in you so much, and you actually have faith that it's possible for you. You're already doing what it takes. You are creating this burning desire by faith. Passionately want to get somewhere with this, and know, not hope or wish, but know that you are going to get there with this. And then in order to choose to come out leading the pack, you have to pay the price, show up, and be consistent. Sometimes you have to give up the things you don't want as much to have the dreams you want so much. So keep that in perspective on those down days. What are you really working so hard for? What do you want this so bad for? Why is it worth it right now to do it? Even though my deficits seem to be having a little bit more value. Switch that in your mind. Pay the price, show up, and be consistent. And then invest in yourself. You guys, if you are not investing in yourself, you are going to really, really feel the weight of your deficits, okay? Your personal development is so important. Invest in your own improvement and your own personal growth every day. Okay, we go over that over and over, but really, personal development is that place where you can grow so much in who you are. So invest in yourself. And then retrain your mind. You want to replace the deficits with the assets. So anytime those negative thoughts kind of come into your brain, you're going to say, it's not coming. Anytime those deficits come into your mind, you're going to reframe to, this is what I'm good at. Maybe this is a weakness. Maybe I am inadequate. For example, for real, yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the day before the coach opportunity call, and I'm just now putting together a flyer, and I feel so terrible about myself because a year and a half into this, I should not be this bad with time management. But guess what? I'm still working on time management. It's so frustrating that I still have to work on time management because at this point, I should be better at it. And that is a deficit mindset, because guess what? I am a whole heck of a lot better at time management a year and a half later than I was day one. I show up for team calls. I'm actually on time. I create PowerPoints. I do things that I do things that I didn't do before that paralyzed me before because they are a weakness. So I have learned slowly through personal development in this long process of this journey is that my assets are amazing, and I'm working on my deficits. They don't rule my life. They're there, but they're not everything. And that I still am an asset to people, even with my time management problems, and even with my, lack of ability to get things done when I say I'm going to, and be, whatever the things are that go through my mind. So retraining your mind every time that negative comes in to say, maybe that's true, but that doesn't make me not valuable. That doesn't make me not good enough. That doesn't mean I won't succeed. That's crazy. Okay, so I'm going to get off that soapbox for a while, and then I'm going to say this verse I love, love, love. And so I'm just going to, anyway, not that I have already obtained it or have already become perfect, but I press on so that I may lay hold of that for which I was laid hold of by Jesus Christ. Brothers, I do not regard myself as having laid hold of it yet, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching toward what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. So I memorized that in Joshua in a different version, which is why I can't read it out loud. But the point of that, guys, is that listen to what he's saying. I haven't already obtained it. I'm not already perfect, but I'm still pressing on. I'm still going to keep going because God has a calling on my life. And so I'm going to continue to run this race because I'm living out my purpose of loving other people well. And that's what Jesus called us to do. So then I'm going to go into our allies. The 4 allies that I think are really, really important for us is, number 1, momentum. Momentum is a huge ally because it helps us not give up. When we have momentum and motivation, we're gung-ho. We're like a train on a track and we're just getting where we need to go, and there's nothing that's really stopping us. So momentum is an awesome ally to have. When you have it, capitalize on it, take advantage of it, use it up for all that it's worth. But remember that steady advancement is what wins the race. So we are not in some giant goal to become billionaires tomorrow. But we have to remember that we have to show up for that time that we've set for this. And remember that every day we set, even though we don't see the money building up, and even though we don't see the business success necessarily, and even though we don't see our challengers' pounds dropping, that the steady momentum is what wins the race. Okay? The second one is completion. If you have a list of things that you're wishing you were doing, you need to start clearing out the undones and incompletes and start getting them off a list of things I wish I was doing and turn them into things you actually are doing. Number 1, because that's going to build on your assets. You're going to feel better about yourself as you start clearing out those things. And number 2, it's going to enhance your momentum because all of a sudden the things you wish you were doing, you're actually doing, and then you're moving forward, which feels good, which you're building your personal development and self-esteem, which is your assets, which feels good. So then it's amazing what you continue to keep doing. So an ally for never giving up is definitely completing some of those things on your list that you wish you were doing and aren't, which is a definite conviction for me sometimes. So make sure that you're doing that. And then reflection, being able to face the man or woman in the mirror, being able to say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I've been doing, and this is what I need to do differently. Not in a way where you condemn yourself because you haven't so far, because we all have weaknesses and struggles, but in a way where you say, not anymore. No, throw me to the wolves and I'm going to come out leading the pack. I've got this. I can totally do this. So where do I start? What's on my list of undones? How do I get the momentum to make that happen? I set a goal for when it's going to happen, and then I start just working towards it, whether that's a free challenge or a Shakeology challenge or getting, Success Club or hitting a rank or whatever. Face the man or woman in the mirror. Start to recognize, where am I and where do I want to be, and start to believe, like actually believe and know that you can get there, and then work on it. Okay? That is a huge ally in never giving up because it gives you a focus to hit right now. Okay? And then celebrate. Catch yourself doing things right and celebrate those things. Celebrate the things you're doing well. Every single person you talk to who says, oh my gosh, thank you for saying that, celebrate that. That interaction, as small as it may be to you, was huge to them. That's why they thanked you for that conversation. So whether or not that came across in a Shakeology sale does not matter. What you do matters. The thank you that's coming from that heartfelt place means, hey, you had an impact on me today. Celebrate the impact you're having in people's lives. Celebrate the people in challenge groups that you actually get to impact in a health and fitness way. You're helping end the trend of obesity. You're helping people reach goals they thought they couldn't. You're having more of a hands-on relationship with them that's creating real change. So celebrate yourself too. And that will also be a huge ally in what helps you to never give up. And I really kept it short and sweet, not on purpose, but because I had it all laid out so well. But I guess this is a place where I'd ask you guys for questions, because that's what I have. That's it. That's what it takes. And it's kind of silly that it's 5 slides and just a few things, but those things aren't easy to do either. They're hard to do. So let me do this and then also go into real talk. Is when it is hard to focus on our assets over our deficits, what do? Do you feel like this list is something that helps you, being able to say, okay, I have strengths, I have gifts, I have talents? Or do you feel like you can say those things to yourself, but then half the time you say them and you're like, yeah, I know, but I don't feel that right now? Sometimes that happens. And I think that in those situations, being able to use one of them, that's something that helps me. Let's say somebody's just told me no and I'm feeling worthless, or I live in Iowa and I feel inadequate, whatever. Just kidding. I don't mean that. But let's say I have these moments of inadequacy and I feel like I'm not good enough, then I can find a way that I can use a strength of mine that contradicts that. Like my time management isn't very good, but I am really good at connecting with people. So even though my time management sucked, I'm going to call somebody that I love and I'm going to just talk to them, and they're going to feel better. I'm going to feel better. Everyone's going to feel better because that's a gift of mine. Like that's something I'm good at. So I have to capitalize on my gifts and recognize them, not just say them to myself, but sometimes even prove them to myself. Ashley, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it's sometimes important to use like maybe those difficult times or like the challenges you're facing and be real about it, like on social media or whatever. Because, when we do look on Facebook and Instagram, everything's usually pretty positive, which isn't bad, but I mean, usually it's like the highlight reel or whatever in your life. But sometimes it's like important to I don't know, show that. Like I'm going to be posting about like, I love that I can just do over. Like I'm going to restart the size like day one over just because I got sick and the kids were sick. Like it just kind of threw a wrench in my workout schedule and I wasn't consistent in it, and I'm going to start over, and that's okay. Like we can do that, but like maybe using some of the challenges we have personally and help others who might feel that too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And especially the way that you said it, because even the negative came out with a positive. Like there's nothing wrong with a do-over. Today I posted a picture in the store and I was like, oh my gosh, stop asking for everything, right? And I was like, thank goodness we're done shopping. But everybody can relate to those moments. Like your kids are totally just insane in those times, and being able to be like, real life right now. Like I think the hashtag real life is like my favorite hashtag, because I think that there's so many legitimate things to the misconceptions of what people think life is, that it's always perfect or that it always looks good or that you are capable of doing something that other people aren't. And half the time, all we recognize are the things we're not doing that other people are. We're so the same as everybody else, but yet everybody else is still feeling those weaknesses and struggles too. And I think when you share them in a positive way where you're like, okay, either we're laughing about this or we're showing an overcoming mindset about this. And then all of a sudden you're like, you're teaching other people without even realizing that they can do that same thing too. And that actually is a common question for people. If I have to skip a couple days, do I start over or do I pick up back where I was? So even covering, that's a personal choice whether or not you want to start back or in the beginning, or whether or not you want to keep going. But it's amazing to have the chance to do a do-over, I love that. That's awesome. And it's good because I read a quote once too that said something about you're not starting over, you're actually just starting again with new knowledge, new information, new skills you've learned. And so you're never starting from the place you did before. Yeah. I think that's definitely true with this journey too. And it's part of that never give up mindset. It's okay. He's cute. It's part of that never give up mindset that I'm always going to be growing and changing, and I'm never going to reach perfect, but I'm not going to give up. And sometimes I need a do-over, and sometimes I just want my kids to stop asking for everything in the store, and sometimes I wish I could go back to bed by 9 a.m. But guess what? Like, that's okay. It's okay that life is like that. I'm still not giving up. Throw me to the wolves and I'll come out leading the pack. I just love that. I'm like, nothing can get us down if we really recognize that in our deficits, it's actually an opportunity, like that C.S. Lewis quote, that our hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary deficit. I mean, that's not right. That's not right at all. don't copy that quote, because that's not true. Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny, which sounds much happier. So being able to recognize, like, even the hard things can prepare us for something extraordinary, and they can be used. I think that is especially true when we use our hardships to help other people, because we're creating something extraordinary in us when we overcome that. Like, what's that like to share? It feels really good to be like, oh my gosh, I did it and it wasn't bad and cool things happen. But also we are creating that in other people's lives too. So that ripple effect is such an amazing piece of even the deficits not being something that are so bad. And we focus on them like they're so bad. Why can't we get it together? But in reality, we have good things going for us too. And our deficits are not the end of the world, even though they do exist. So where we put our head is where we put our action. And oftentimes our mental clarity in our head gets a little wonky or whatever. So I think it's so important to kind of get these things in line and write them down and say, okay, what am I focusing on? Where am I at? How can I reframe this situation? And how am I focusing on the allies that keep me going, that motivation and, gosh, what were all of them? I don't even remember. Motivation, completion, actually doing what I say I'm going to do, reflection and celebration. Because then we can see such a clearer picture than we do in the everyday. So anyone else want to say anything before I stop recording, ask any questions or comment on anything about never giving up? You guys are already such a good example of that. Everybody follow their example.